Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a good friend of mine that this is the first time talking face-to-face with them. We've been hitting each other up through like, instant messenger, not instant messenger, but like, Instagram DMs and stuff like that. So, John Charlesworth, how's it going?
Hey, Thomas, so good to finally see you face-to-face, man.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
So we were doing Misfit. You were doing Misfit for a while, and then we kind of connected through that way, I believe, right?
Yeah. So we've done many different program styles at our CrossFit box. We started Misfit a couple of years ago, and then we kind of left that because there's something called it's called bitch work.
Yeah.
yeah. So we're like, okay, no, we're not gonna do that anymore. Because that was like 6 hours of training a day.
Yeah.
That was hardcore.
Yeah.
So we've just changed it up since then. I mean, so the coach of our box, Grant, he's kind of got a bit of his own with a bit of mayhem as well.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So how did you get into CrossFit?
So I kind of spread myself so thinly over everything in high school, and by everything I mean sports. Like I did basketball, athletics, cross country. I didn't really focus on anything specifically. I mean, if I could say I focused on one thing, it'd be basketball. But I didn't really, really attune myself to one sport. And I was training at a gym called 360 at the time. It was 2013. And I saw this competition called LMS 360. So I was like, oh, wow, there's this competition at my gym. So I just booked a ticket, didn't look at anything. So I went to my coach and I was like, oh, dude, where's this competition happening? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no competition. So then I looked. I was like, oh, shit, Centurion. Now I'm in Cape Town. This was in Joburg, which is the 2.5-hour flight. I was like, oh, frick. So now I just bought myself a ticket, up country. He's like, it's a CrossFit comp. And I was like, well, cool, then you can teach me. He was like, well, okay, because they did functional movements there. And I hadn't thought about CrossFit. I hadn't done CrossFit yet, but he was kind of teaching me the basics, teaching me double unders and like base things. Anyway, so I went to this competition, and obviously I was a beginner. And man, it was such an awesome competition. It was called Last Man Standing, and I just people hitting handles across the stage, running up the hill with like these water things on their back. Doing burpees, flipping tires. I was like, this is my game. I love it. I thought, because I spread myself so thinly over everything, this is everything in one coming together. I was like, this is perfect. Nice. So yeah, I just kind of got into it after that.
Nice. And how long you been doing it?
So 2013. So 6.5, 7 years.
Okay, awesome. And then you have your level.
It's probably 6 years.
Yeah, it's probably like roughly the same amount of time that I did. Like roughly like the same time I got in. But you have your level 2 CrossFit certification. So
I do.
For a lot of people that like I don't even know how to do it. So like what's the process to get your level 2?
So you first have to get your level 1, of course.
Yeah.
So it's all pretty much the same price. So what you do is you just look for a local box that's hosting in your city. So there's normally in every city around the world there's going to be one box that affiliates to head office. They've got somebody that affiliates with head office, and that's where all the seminars will take place. So you just hit them up, you book, and you get a pamphlet that you have to read through. You don't actually need any background in exercise at all. I mean, luckily I had, because I've been a trainer for 10 years. So I thought, okay, I've got this, but it's completely different mindset of training, which is great. So it totally takes you off that stereotypical, 1 rep, 2 rep, strength and power.
Mm-hmm.
So once you've got your level 1, it happens over a weekend, and so does your level 2. So you obviously study and you go in for your practical side of the book that you are studying.
Okay, cool, very cool. So, and was it a lot harder than the level 1, or what was a little bit different?
So level 2 is a lot more practical than level 1. So there's a lot more group work. There's a lot more of you teaching a class.
Oh, okay.
Because they want to see that you can actually, now take take control.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas level 1 is it's basic. It's like your first year as a personal trainer. It's like your basic anatomy, basic physiology, basic movements, the 9 functional movements. So just kind of understanding the base of what CrossFit is.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, to become a CrossFit coach in any box around the world, you just need the level 1. But obviously, level 2 can play in your favor if you've got that experience to back it as well, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, very cool. Are you looking to get your level 3 at all, even though all this stuff with CrossFit's going on?
You know what? So there's a lot going on at the moment, but and my coach and myself have, we've spoken about it. He's got his level 2, and he will probably do his level 3 at some point. I don't know if I'll need it, because if I do level 3, then I'd want to do level 4, and I think there's only 4 or 5 people with level 4 in the world.
Yeah.
If my understanding is correct, but I don't think I need it at the moment. They say if you've got your level 3, that it's the same, because you go really in depth with weightlifting as well. And it's the same as your ACSM weightlifting degree. So instead of going to university and studying sports conditioning, you could just do level 3.
Huh.
So interesting, but at the same time, I think it's only still, once you've done your studying, it's only a 2-day practical exam.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you learn in 2 days?
Compared to,
I'm sure a lot, but I mean,
I mean it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot different from a 4-year school to a weekend school.
Exactly.
So yeah, very cool. So you're a type 1 diabetic. So how long have you been a diabetic for?
So I've been diabetic for I was 14, so 26. How long? 28 years. No, that's what did I say? 28 years. 18 years. 28 years. Sorry. 18 years. Yeah, I was. So I'll quickly take you through the story.
Yeah.
So was it December, January of 2000? December, January of the year 2000. I was at my dad, and I just had acne on my face, and I was so tired. I was getting up 4 or 5 times a night to go pee. I remember, just before I get in the shower, I was like, wow, I'm so thin. I can't pick up weight. I can eat so much. I'm so lucky. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I'm actually diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was this was a Saturday that we kind of had a family discussion about going to myself checked out. My sister was like, I think you might be diabetic. And I was like, I didn't know what that was. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. So on the Sunday, I was going to go to this pharmacy to get my sugars checked out, and they were closed. So I went home to my mom, and we said, okay, on the Tuesday, we were going to take me for a blood test and everything. And on the Monday, I had cross country. So this was following down now. So this is probably about 4 or 5 months later. Cross country season, I went for a run, and there was a guy that I knew I was a lot better at running than. He was just down the road. I was just I was tired, I had no energy. I was like, something is definitely wrong. So I went home that night. I didn't eat. Woke up the next morning. My mom was like, okay, you're going to the doctor. I went to the doctor. Had a urine sample. The doctor was like, yeah, no, you're diabetic. And I was like, oh, cool. My mom's like, oh my gosh, oh no, what's happening? And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I ended up staying in hospital for 2 weeks. The second day in hospital, they brought me this pen. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, you've got to inject yourself now. I'm like, what? And over the course of 2 weeks, I had 8 to 10 doctors a day coming in, and all these student doctors coming in, seeing, this is a young boy, he's got diabetic now, he's got diabetes now, telling me what to do, how to do it. I met this nutritionist, I picked up 35 kilograms, and a lot of people won't believe this. I picked up 35 kilograms in 2.5 months.
Wow.
So I weighed 42 kilograms before I was diabetic, and I weighed 76 to 78 kilos after that. So it was just, I had that hormone to let the energy in and out now, so my body was reacting.
Yeah.
And then I picked up weight for the first time, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what weight gain is.
Yeah. So when you were on that run, did you have like chest tightness or anything like that? Because when I was previously diagnosed, like not even diagnosed yet, like one workout I remember was like box jumps and like something else, and it like I was completely gassed, and it felt like my chest was like caving in. Did you have something like that or not? Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, when I've had high sugars, it's I can only relate for people who aren't diabetic to. When you wake up in the morning and your eyes are already tired and you've got that like dryness of in your eyes, and that's what I feel it's like. And when I've got notifications. When I'm doing hard exercise, I think that's the biggest thing. I wouldn't say tight-chested, but I'll definitely find it hard to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think you'll obviously know this as well. Like, it doesn't matter. You could do a 7-minute workout. So your sugar could be completely neutral. Let's say 5. You could do a 7-minute workout, and one day your sugar is going to go up to 12. You can do a 7-minute workout. The next day it's going to go down to 2. So it's very independent for every individual who has diabetes.
Yeah.
Which it makes us able to kind of challenge ourselves, because we have to take control of this condition.
Yeah.
I think you do quite well with it, man. You've got a massive following, and
not as big as some people, but I'm trying. So originally started my Instagram account I was like before diabetes, and it was like Coach Thomas Lennon, and then when I got diabetes, and like I had the whole story of like how I met the 5-year-old, and like I wanted to do more, and I started Type 1 lifting. That's when I started it, and I kind of like started following more and more diabetics, and just like, because they're pretty much like my coaches, like helping me out, try to figure out like the way to be a diabetic, or like what to do in this certain situation. And obviously like doing this podcast is like I love to get other people's opinion, like opinions on their life, so maybe someone's in the same predicament, they can get help from that way, from listening.
Of course. Listen, it's changing all the time, right? And like I said, everybody like reacts differently to everything. So you can have 5 different podcasts, and everybody's going to say something different. So it's so nice to obviously get that, and it's so nice to chat with more people.
Yeah.
Just kind of level your perspective.
Yeah. So when you start working out, what are the numbers that you're looking for pre working out for diabetes?
You're talking sugar levels?
Yeah.
So anything above 12, I won't really exercise, just regarding ketones in the blood. And I've heard that that's bad for my heart. I have exercised before, and I've, speaking of being very tired and not being able to do much. So I've done a full exercise. I think, if I can have a named workout, something more than 15 minutes, and I know I'll be having a bad time. And afterwards, my sugar levels would be like 18 to 21. And I'm like, shit, I've just done a whole run of exercise. My body's just taking all this damage. So I know that, when you exercise, when you're doing strength training, your body pulls sugar into the blood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry, your body pulls sugar into the muscles to obviously utilize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to take insulin before I used to train, but sometimes they would work, and sometimes I just have a hypo. So anything from 5 to under 12, I'd be okay to train with.
Yeah. So for me, I typically I go like the. I usually run like 200, so I don't know what number it is.
You've got a different system, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I usually hit like 200, and I think is that 8 something or something. I gotta try to remember that.
It's like 1,000 kilograms. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
But that's what I usually try to train when I hit the 200, because I'm worried about dropping, or if I go up a little bit, I understand that it's like hormones kicking in. So which is fine, but then I usually dose properly after. But do you have like a Dexcom or anything like that, or?
You mean like a CGM monitor?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tested it for 2 weeks last year, and it worked great. I mean, my sugar was perfect. I mean, dare I say perfect, but perfect. But it's very expensive over here, and our medical aid doesn't actually pay for it. So I'm moving to the UK soon, and I know that the NHS they pay for it, so I will be getting one.
Oh, cool.
Once I've sorted out there, yeah.
Yeah. So American
Have you got one of those?
No, because like once again, if for you, it's exact thing for you. Like it's too expensive for me. So they're asking like an initial fee of like $800, and then every 3 months it's like $125, and then every month it's an extra $30, and I'm like, I can't do that. So
yeah.
You know, I tried.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, so I actually, a former neighbor of mine, he was a diabetic. He gave me a month's supply of like the Freestyle Libre, you know, that little white disc that people have.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I had.
and so I liked it. I mean, it wasn't bad, but the problem was, like, they were. I need a prior authorization for my doctor, so pretty much like my insurance won't pay for it. So I need to get a special like note from my doctor to say like, hey, I want him to get on it just so it can be approved. Yeah. So it's just like it's unreal, and then like
you know, man. I'm sorry, Tom. Carry on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So obviously, you know, in the medical field, I mean, it's a chronic condition, and something like this would be so helpful for any diabetic. But I don't know why medical aids won't pay for it. They've obviously got many reasons why, but I think once they realize the benefit, then they'll start introducing a lot more kind of help towards making it easier to buy.
Yeah, well, it's funny because in the States, they all like the insulin manufacturers are giving free insulin to people that have like lost their jobs during the COVID-19 thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, why didn't you do it in the first place? Like, why is it so expensive in the beginning, but you can give free insulin to somebody? Like, you know, doesn't make sense.
It just shows you, it's all about money, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, during a time, with the whole world like in crisis, every big company needs to realize, okay, well, I need to do my part now to show that I care. So they don't look bad.
Yeah. So how
long have you been diabetic for?
August will be 5 years.
Okay, so you said close, because 5 years.
Yeah, so I got diagnosed a month before my 35th birthday.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. So I'm an older guy, that I got it late, so, yeah.
Well, bro, you're young, let me tell you that much.
Yeah, all like the diabetics that come on the podcast are like super jealous. They're like, man, you're so lucky you got it so late. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. But so when did you start getting into like the personal training field?
Okay, so that would probably be a year after high school. So I obviously applied for my college while I was in high school. Then I got in, and a lot of people don't know this. It's I don't really like to say it because I was never like a professional athlete by a long shot, but I used to love athletics. And I thought to myself, and this is a true story, like I said to myself, I want to go to the Olympics for the 400 meter sprint, and if I'm going to get there, I want to help other people get to their goals. I'm obviously getting to mine. But I mean, I never actually trained for. I mean, I did the 400 meter sprint in high school, but I was never like an amazing. I mean, you'll ask anybody, like, it was okay. And then I got into the fitness side of things, and I used to be a very timid person, and then I kind of just I came out. I was very outspoken. Was very loud, but like a nice loud, And then I got into helping people, and so there's a gym franchise over here called Virgin Active. But I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah. So that's by Richard Branson. He owns it. Well, I don't know if he still owns it. Yeah.
They don't have it in the States.
I think they have like maybe one or two of those gyms.
Okay. So. Okay. Yeah. So it's our biggest franchise of gyms here, and there was one of my friends in my class. He worked at Virgin Active, and it's a really silly story, but he had a card. It was a gold shiny card. It looked like a nice little holographic shiny thing. I was like, I want one of those cards. And he's like, well, you have to work at Virgin Active. So I was like, cool. And then I applied, and then I got in. I was like, yes. And then so I worked there for 10 years. I mean, this year was the last year I'd worked there. So Yeah, I got into training. I worked on the floor for a while as a little floor instructor. Flew to the UK for like 8 months. Came back and then started training. I got to know the people and just kind of hit off from there.
Yeah. So when you were picking up clients, were you like walking around the floor like asking people like, hey, would you like personal training sessions, or did they like kind of like did they have like another sales guy that did all the work for you?
Yeah, no. So you have to do the selling yourself. So you're an independent contractor. I mean, of course, there are sales staff over there. So they will if somebody so if the sales staff knows you and they're seeing a new client who wants to come into the gym, they'll be like, oh, well, you want this type of training with this type of individual. Well, okay, well, this trainer, like on top of mind, this trainer is who I would suggest. There is a board for all the trainers, so you can, if you walk into the gym, you'll see all these pictures of 25 trainers, and then it'll have their little motto, what they specialize in, how long they've been there for, and you can make up your mind. But it's kind of just talking to people. Hey? Like you really learn to become a people's person. Like especially at the one I was at. Like if you weren't good with people, you just wouldn't make it there. Like you had to know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was never good at talking to people. Like I was very shy in primary school. I mean, even a little bit of high school. But I mean, I think I definitely, as I grew up, I definitely matured that way. So personal training is really, it's made me a very loud person.
Yeah, same here. So, what are your best moments as a personal trainer? That come to mind?
So listen, I mean, if your client's getting a result, right? I mean, people think results are big, but I mean, the smallest thing, like you've got somebody, I'll talk about weight loss for a second. We've got a lot of, clients who have a fair amount of weight and they want to lose some. Just 5 kilos and they really sympathize with you. I think it's moments like that really get you. But I mean, I think it's just over the 10 years, man, there's so many memories, especially at this place. I mean, obviously, I've kind of built that. I'd say one of the biggest jobs that I've had outside of school. So, I mean, I think 95% of my friend base that I've got now is through that gym.
Okay.
Cool. So I mean, if I didn't work there, I think where would I have been? Who would I have known?
Yeah.
So just my entire friendship should I guess.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I have a lot of friends. Like, I've been trained at actually I was a trainer at 3 different gyms, and nice. I still talk to a bunch of them. So I moved from north of the United States and moved down south. So it's they're all on the East Coast. So I went to this main gym, and the gym that you see all the videos of me doing the lifts. I still work out there, and I still talk to all the people there, and it's just a great community to talk to. So. But
I mean, listen, I watch your stories. I mean, you're a strong guy. You can lift some good weight, so that's good. It's nice to know. And I know you follow Jessica. Is it Jessica Butner or something? She's a powerlifter.
Yeah.
Diabetic.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I just recorded a podcast with her a couple days ago.
Nice, that's so cool. Okay,
So,
I've never met her. I've commented, I don't know, she's never replied. I was like, okay, well, she doesn't know me. I'm just a random diabetic, So she's very strong for a diabetic girl. It's very impressive.
Yeah, in the recording, I asked her what her max numbers are, and it was insane. I'm like, I can't even get to that numbers. She's
wow.
50 pounds to 100 pounds more than what I can do. So
wow, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of make an excuse saying I'm 6'6", so I kind of blame it on the height, compared to her being 5'7". So
as we do.
Yeah, I'm like seriously, she just squats 2 inches and pops back up again, and she's already there. So
I just had my friend Mark. Sorry, just ignore that. Sorry.
Okay.
It went on mute.
Oh, it's all good. So yeah, literally she just takes 2 inches and just squat down and come back up again. So. It's not fair.
Wow.
So.
Is she quite a small individual?
Yeah, she's 5'7".
Oh man.
Yeah, exactly. Typical CrossFit athlete. So.
Okay.
But
is she a CrossFit?
What's that?
Is she a CrossFit athlete?
No, she's a power lifter.
She's a power lifter.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, but okay. So you had a little life-changing episode that happened to you. Was it a couple 2 years ago? 2-3 years ago?
It was last year. So I mean, okay. So what in 2020? The end. So November 2018 was where we found it all out.
Yeah. So you had you found out you had cancer. So how did you find out? Like, how did you find out about that?
So it was testicular cancer. And a lot of people, I've had this question asked many a time, like, how did you find out? And this is going to sound really weird, but like, if I'm sitting somewhere while I'm relaxed or I'm watching TV, I'll just like sit with my hands, like, just chilling. Whatever. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And if do you know what an endearment is? It's a little chewing gum. It's like a hard candy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So just imagine like a hard piece of chewing gum, but if you took like a ball, if you had to take that candy away, then it would still be hard, but it like soft but hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And something just didn't feel right, and like I didn't think anything of it, but I knew that I had to go get it checked out. So I made an appointment with my urologist, and he did a check, and he was like, okay, telling me all the numbers. And, oh yes, that's that, and that's that. I'm like, oh, this is so awkward, And then when he moved to the one side, his face just changed, like his whole expression just changed. He was like, and I was like, oh gosh, what's happening here, So he said to me, okay, listen, you better go get these tests done today. Please come see me at 3:00. This was a Monday. And so I had the test done. And the lady was scanning me. I was like, oh, it has to be a lady now. I was so
of course, yeah.
I'm doing almost literally in the space of 24 hours. Had all my tests done, went back, and he was like, you've got testicular cancer. And then he they try to like sugarcoat it, no pun intended.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, if you want a cancer, this is the best one to get because it's the most curable, and everybody has it, everybody gets over it. I'm like, okay. So I told my family that Wednesday. I called them all over to my house, and then told them all. It was a big shock to the family, and like I was a bit upset. Obviously, I had to tell many people because I just entered a competition, a CrossFit competition called Fittest in Cape Town, which is the biggest one in South Africa, and we were training for that, and obviously I had to pull out now. So then I had to tell everybody, and I was like, I didn't know how to say anything, and like I was always saw myself as just like strong character, but then obviously as soon as I would start speaking about it, I'd get like very teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And then people would try and sugarcoat it, like you'll be fine, you're strong, you're powerful, blah blah blah. And so anyway, so that Monday I got diagnosed, and he said, listen, it's localized, it hasn't gone anywhere that we've seen. So I said, he said you have to take it out. I was like, well, let's friggin' do it. So that Friday I had the operation. I don't know what it's called, the operation. Anyway, but it came out that Friday.
Was it a testicular ectomy, or I can't remember it. So
man, it's a tip of my tongue. Anyway, so I had it done that Friday, and then the Monday he came and said, listen, so there's certain levels, like you get sugar levels within diabetics. So you've got your cancer markers, and those went up. He said, within 5 weeks, if your markers keep going up, then there's still some active cancer in you, and that was obviously the case. So then they said, listen, you have to do chemotherapy, and I haven't known anybody with cancer throughout my whole life. I've known friends of friends or family, but no one in my close family. And I was like, well, you know what? Like, I'm not going to do chemotherapy. Like, I'm just not going to do that. So this is when I decided to, move on to that healthy lifestyle. So my girlfriend, she was very, very supportive because she's vegan. Mm-hmm. So she's like, listen, you've got to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. And for 5 months I went on a vegan diet, and my family and I fought because they were like, no, you have to do chemo, you're going to die otherwise. My sister, she even went behind my back, and she had gotten hold of Lance Armstrong's urologist, and she had said, she had sent him saying, "Oh, my brother's he's been diagnosed. Please, you need to tell him that he needs to do chemotherapy." Like, and he says, like, and I've got this email from, I don't know what his name is, but I've got the email from this doctor or this urologist saying, "You tell your brother that if he doesn't do chemotherapy, he's going to die." I'm like, this guy doesn't even know me, and this is what he's saying about. Like, this is pretty rough, bro. Like,
yeah.
So if you can hear this, anyway, yeah. So anyway, so there were big family fights. I had 5 months of eating healthy. I lost 12 kilograms in 2 weeks just because I completely leaned out.
Yeah.
It was just crazy, like no carbs. I was eating like it was gross, but it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the food.
Yeah.
And I after 5 months, I decided, like, I went back to test, and they're like, "Listen, this thing it's getting bigger." There was something kind of starting to grow next to my aorta. I was like, "Well, I don't know what that is." Then they're like, "Listen, you have to do chemo. Your markers keep going up. It's going to get worse. Like you're at a base now. You can still get it while it's young, whatever." And I made the choice to do therapy. I mean, I chatted to my coaches. My coach's family, they were very supportive. They told me there's a guy, I forget his name. It's called Chris Beats Cancer. You might know him. You might have read the books.
I might have.
Sorry, no. Yeah. Anyway, so his name's Chris Walk, and I got inspired, but at the same time, after like 5 months and my markers were still going up, I thought, okay, well, I think I might need to do this. So I just kind of submitted myself. Yeah, and then for 4 or 5 months, I was doing chemotherapy. So it was a 3-day on, 21-day off cycle for 4 rounds. My oncologist was like, "Listen, you might lose your hair, you might not, you might get sick, you might not. If we give you medication to help with being sick, please just take it, even if you're not feeling sick." So they tell you everything that you need to know. Like, I only got sick once during chemotherapy, and I wasn't even like throwing up. I was so hungry for some fish. So I had this oily fish and chips.
Yeah.
And I just got sick afterwards. I was like, oh, it was just a little bit. Like, yeah. So people talk about losing weight when they, go through chemotherapy, but I think it's because you throw up. And I was very fortunate. Like, I stopped myself from throwing up many times. Like, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But one thing, if anybody's watching this who's going to go through chemotherapy, don't have any foods that you really like during chemotherapy, because I don't like mushrooms. I stopped liking oranges. Orange juice tasted like mango juice. It was my taste buds went crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a big hit. But it's over now.
Yeah.
It's done. It's dusted. But there's obviously the other operation. You've seen that one.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like, if to the listeners that look at your Instagram page, like, back in the day, you lost your hair. Well, you got, the hair was gone, so you kind of looked like Professor X. You kind of looked like Professor X from the X-Men. So, which I thought was pretty cool. So.
And I was like, I could actually totally, because I heard that at the time they were, I think they were remaking X-Men. And I was like, well, listen, I could apply for the role of this guy, because I think pretty darn something. So what happened regarding the loss of hair was, I went through my first cycle and I was fine. And then I would just start to kind of run my, hand through my hair, and I was like, oh, like, there's hair there, like, that's awkward. I thought maybe it's just a brush of hair that I, didn't brush or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I would just pull it out, and I was like, okay, something's happening here. Anyway, so the morning of my second cycle, before I started, I went to the barber, and I was like, take it all off, bro. Like, I'm not going to let this stuff take my hair. I'm going to take it myself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they shaved my hair, and then for the next 5 months, it just didn't grow back at all. And, like, all the hair on my body just, like, left. Except my eyebrows. My eyebrows were good.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I was very fortunate about that.
So you weren't able to grow a beard or anything like that at all, or?
No, nothing. So I was completely, I've never really been able to grow a beard. Obviously during the lockdown, I've grown a bit of a beard, which is great. But, during chemo, because hair is fast growing, all the fast growing cells just get wiped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was completely impossible to grow any type of hair.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing because, like, obviously, like, you don't want to be like there's some like hairy dudes, and then all of a sudden they lose all their hair. They're like, well, this is the best thing ever. So.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing, after when I finished therapy, so I finished in, was it June or July? I think July. So I finished, and then June, July, or September. 6 weeks later, I had my test, and my markers were fine. Then he said to me, Jono, the thing in your body hasn't shrunk during your chemotherapy. And I was like, he's like, listen, it's actually gotten a little bit bigger. This is my oncologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy because I'd finished chemotherapy, and I was like, I'm going to rule the world now. And then this was the operation they told me about at the beginning when I was first diagnosed. Like, you might have to do this operation, and so that is called an RP-LND, so retropenineal lymph node dissection. So what happens if I could just use this here? I mean, they didn't cut me this way; they cut me that way.
Yeah.
Just below the belly button. There was a mass just next to my aorta, which had gotten bigger. So what it could have done if it got too big was stop the blood flow in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that op done, and that was like a massive C-section. But like anybody who goes to my Instagram can have a look at that. And then obviously getting back to exercise again was a hard patch because I couldn't move. I couldn't, coughing.
I can imagine like with especially with people with C-sections, like they just rip their abdominal muscles, and so now they're trying to regenerate back, and obviously like I bet you like trying to get out of bed was like really hard for you.
Man, it was crazy. Like I'd have to sit on my bed, I'd take a pillow, hold it on my stomach, and I'd drop down, and I'd have to kind of stay in that position and then hold it if I wanted to move, on my back, because like nothing could move.
Yeah.
And I was so scared every time I felt like a cough or a sneeze coming on. I was like, because it was so sore. It felt like I was cutting my stomach open every time I did that.
Yeah.
And when I was in hospital, I had physios coming to help me, breathe through this tube to get my my stomach moving again. But it's weird, man. Because you kind of you're paralyzed.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long did it take you to are you still like kind of recuperating with your abdominal muscles, or are you kind of like just it's getting like almost towards like 100%?
I would say it's getting towards 100%. So in terms of cross-functional movements, I definitely need a lot more help. So like you obviously know what the hollow rock is. Yeah. Can't do that. Just can't do that. Like I used to be really good. My friends know me for doing a lot of ab work and really liking ab work. That's not the same anymore,
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I've got a bit of scar tissue there, which is now attached itself to the body, and I try and rub that away. Every night I'm supposed to do like an hour of massage around the scar tissue just to ensure that it doesn't, stick to the muscle.
Yeah.
But like if I do knees to chest, perfectly fine. If I do a toes to bar, as soon as I come down into that hollow, I can feel that stretch, so I have to stop.
Yeah.
I think within time it's going to get better because where I am now, as opposed to where I was when I came out, is 150% difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
I can cough and I can sneeze and I can do everything. But there's a couple of movements which are still quite tough. I mean, like a bar muscle up. I know we're talking high moves here, but I mean that's something that I won't do for a while.
Yeah. Have you tried like the rower V up? So like you put your feet on the rower seat and then you kind of like push your butt up to form a V at all? Have you tried that before?
Wait, say that again.
So your hands are on the floor, feet are on the rower, feet are on the rower seat. Yeah.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you do no problem with that?
That's fine, but I mean, I can't do a V up on my back, so I can't lie down and then lift, but I have to do one leg at a time.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to do both legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then
so I mean, there's a couple of things.
Yeah. I mean, and like how many months has that been so far?
When did I have the op? So I had the op in September last year.
Okay.
September. Yeah. So September. So a good 7 months probably.
Yeah. Close to 7-8 months.
7, 8, yeah.
Okay, very cool. So one of the pictures I on your Instagram feed, you actually, it was I think it was like a gallery. It was you. I think you traveled to like some country or whatnot and went in the water or something like that for like a healing effects.
Bali.
Yeah. Okay, Bali. So can you tell me like what the experience that was like?
So one of the reasons why I chose Bali was I saw many homeopathic doctors and spiritual healers during my just during last year, and a lot of them said to me, Jono, you have to break yourself in a series of waves. So I have to go into the ocean, and I have to let the ocean take me. Like I have to let it break me. And I was like, okay, like I have to become one with the world. Like I have to release this energy because I hold on to I hold on to things, and it's like killing my body. So you have to just release all your anger, all your negativity, and you need to do that in the sea. And I thought, well, if I go to Bali, I'm going to be on the beach every day.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I obviously chose that destination. I mean, I'd been there before, but I knew that there were amazing places where you could dive, you could get crashed by waves, etc. So that was kind of a little experience for me, just to kind of get my mind right, level myself. And this was obviously just before my operation, so I knew that this was the last time in a while that I'd be able to flash a six pack. So I was like, I'm going. So,
yeah. That was a very cool post. I saw that and I really liked that. So, and I've never been to Bali. I've always wanted to go check it out.
Listen, you've got to go. You have to go. It is so cheap and it's just amazing, man. Like it doesn't matter where you go. The food's just it's tops everywhere. People are nice. Food's nice, weather's nice. I mean, depending on what time you go.
Yeah.
Roughly September is the best time of year.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So how are your sugars throughout the whole ordeal with chemo and the surgeries and everything? Terrible.
Yeah, okay, so they give you cortisol to help you with your nausea while you're going through chemo, and the cortisol just pushes your sugars through the roof. So now you've got to battle therapy and you've got to battle your sugar levels, and so you're just doing this all the time. And obviously what insulin does is that it's actually I think it's an inflammatory, so everything in your body is just always rough. So I didn't have the best time, but my sugar levels are very up and down. I mean, they've never been completely stable. I think the most stable, probably for 4 or 5 days when I went to Bali before my operation, my sugar levels were absolutely amazing. But it's weird though, because they were so good. And just before I started thinking about that operation, because people said, listen, don't think about anything, just have fun, just relax. And I was like, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I thought about it, my sugar levels started to crash, man. Oh, well, they started to rise a little bit. But you've definitely got to... It's tough, but in fact, that's one of the questions I'd asked my oncologist. I said, listen, you guys are rushing me to do chemotherapy. I said, have you ever had a type 1 diabetic do chemotherapy? And they were like, well, it's like, hold on, how is no type 1 diabetic? Well, how have you guys never seen a type 1 diabetic that done chemotherapy? And they couldn't give me answers. So I was freaking out because I'm like, well, I don't want you to kill me here. You know what I mean? I know this is acid pretty much going to my body. I used to have straws as veins. Now I've got these little drawing pins. But I mean,
yeah,
it happens, man. I've had to just kind of let that slide. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is it's obviously it's done. It's in the past. And we hope that it's going to stay there.
Yeah, and I'm very happy for you that you're cancer free. So I was really happy when that happened. So. You're a very positive person, especially on social media and stuff like that. So how did you keep that positive attitude throughout your whole chemo and after, and how what did you do to keep it up?
So okay, I will be honest with you. I used to be a very positive person. I think during the whole chemo thing, I definitely internally I became very negative. But I knew that I had to portray this positive kind of person, because I know I was kind of using it to inspire other people as well. I wasn't a negative person, but like I said, I kind of became a little bit negative. I got very itchy with people. I was very short-tempered. And then people would like use my cancer, like, no, it's fine, I understand what you're going through. And I was like, it's fine, you know. But, so let's say you've got, so there's testicular, and let's say you've got spinal cancer, completely different cancers. One is a lot more severe than the other. And because the doctors had told me that mine was so relaxed that it's fine, it's going to be cured, I was like, oh, well, I don't like people talking to me about it, that I inspired them, because I thought, well, it was an easy cancer, so, you know, like I felt like unworthy of being positive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, I think at the same time, like I had such a massive amount of help in my corner. Like, I mean, I had the whole of Cape Town praying for me, you know. I mean, all my friends, all my family, you know, because I've got many families. I've got my CrossFit family, my gym family, and my family. And of course, that as well as my girlfriend's family. I mean, they were helping me out wonders. And they were always on my side. So that obviously kept me going as well, which is great. Mm-hmm. I think if anybody's going through something like that, you need to have help. You know, like if I was a person that didn't, like, if I didn't have, let's say I didn't have an Instagram account, or I didn't have friends on Facebook, I probably would have gone the other way, because like you need to talk to people. You know, you need to open, you need to vent, and you need people who are willing to listen and not give advice if they feel they can. You know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. The one thing I've always told, like, because I've been in the medical field for like 14 years, and so I actually last year I stopped. I started a new position, but I always tell like the new doctors or like the new nurses or whatever, like people that are new, you never tell people that are going through that situation that you understand, because you really don't understand what they're going through.
You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
So many people have said, oh, I understand. And I shouted. I was like, you don't understand at all, so don't tell me. And I would swear. Oh, man. I think I remember having a conversation with my mom saying, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, because I know people want to feel like they sympathize with you, but it's easy to say it's okay, when you don't actually know what's really going down.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't feel the feeling.
Mm-hmm. I think it's, for me personally, I just think it's a way to, their way of thinking, to calm people down and be like, we really do feel for you, and like that's the way, like they say understand, because they just want to make sure, they want to think that they know what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
So I always tell, like, there was a new resident that said, I understand, to this wife, where she literally had to take care of her husband. And it's like he was in diapers and everything like that, and like she was like completely stressed out. And the resident said, "Oh, I completely understand your situation." And the wife was like, ripped her a new one, said, "No, you don't understand like what I have to deal with, like a day in, day out. You're just here for the first 15 minutes, and like you haven't been through like the whole time of like his, me cleaning his dirty diaper, or like, me pretty much have to pick him up everything and feed him, and like you have no idea." And so like I told her, I'm like, you really shouldn't have said that. I mean, because obviously you don't know, but this is gonna be a good learning experience for you. Just say like, you just tell them like you don't understand, and just like, I'm sorry this is happening, or something like that. So.
Tom, I know you said you were in the medical field for 14 years. What was your profession?
So I was a medic. Well, I was a medical technician in the Air Force for 7 years, and then I did medical simulations. So pretty much we had like these rooms where like we'd have mannequins, and we adjust their heart rates and like do scenarios for the doctors, nurses to get them ready for like any situation. Do a lot of training. I was also a orthopedic technician at an emergency department down in Atlanta, and also I was up in Boston working as an emergency room tech as well. And I was there I was working in the ER during the Boston Marathon bombing when that happened.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, I've seen the movie Stronger, so
yeah.
I know bits and pieces of it. Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely point out to the person I took care of, but obviously that'd be a big HIPAA violation, so we can't do that. But there were we intubated so many people in the emergency room, but like anybody with like black marks on their neck, like we intubated them immediately. So
wow.
Yeah. Wow. I think it was like 30. We had like 36 people come in all at once. So it was definitely crazy. So, and like,
sure, I can imagine that being quite a bit to take in. But I mean, at the same time, I think you're obviously good at helping people.
Yeah.
So you knew where to kind of place yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things, like when I do chest compressions, especially when I worked at the children's hospital, that especially with like little kids, I don't like looking at their faces because then it gets embedded into my head, and then it's just like that's all I remember from that kid or someone that died. Yeah, so I don't like if any codes, I don't look at anybody's faces. So, but like there have been some traumatic things that happen, but I kind of think you got to have some loose screws in your head to work in the emergency department, because I mean you can crack jokes and like the craziest things, so. Yeah. But yeah, it's just
crazy, yeah.
You've
had quite a life.
Yeah, I've actually saved 3 people's lives during chest compressions.
Wow, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I've done your basic CPR and a dummy. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like the first time I did chest compressions on a real person, like their rib cage started cracking because of all the pressure that you're doing, and like I heard, like you'll hear pops like all over the place. Yeah. And so, it's crazy. Like the first time I like literally started doing it, I heard the pop, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" But then like, keep on going. So I was like, "Okay." So yeah,
rather a broken rib than a dead person.
I have so many stories I can tell you. It's like it's bananas. Like gunshot wounds to the head, like abuse cases, child abuse cases, like.
Wow,
you name it. Like everything you can imagine, I've probably seen it.
Well, dude, let's have another call sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Up to you.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end. So
okay.
So quick. Like we got probably 3 or 4 questions. So I know obviously with South Africa, a lot of things are being closed in the gyms and everything like that. So do you have any like fitness goals like till the end of the year at all?
I wouldn't say goal. This lockdown's been different for everybody. Like everyone's had, their own set of issues. I've just become really, I'm going to say relaxed during this lockdown. Our gym has lent out some equipment, so I was lucky. I've got a pair of 18 dumbbells, and I've got a barbell with 40 kilos in total. So I do some snatches, I do some cleans, I do some deadlifts, but I mean it's not heavy enough for strength training.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of goals, so I don't know. I didn't think I've told you this. In fact, I haven't. So I'm moving to the UK to become a carer.
What's that?
So I'll be looking after older adults, people who have dementia.
Oh, okay.
Who need mobility, who need companionship, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do that just for a couple of months to a year. And I think so. I've kind of leveled down my fitness now. Mm-hmm. I know I don't need it right now, but at the same time, I still need it for my own health. So I think, until the end of the year, I just want to make sure that I maintain, like I don't get like super fat or anything.
Yeah.
So listen, you're in the CrossFit side of things, so a good 5 to 10 minute workout a day is fine. Twice a day is fine.
Mm-hmm.
The basic part is just keep the heart rate going.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. There's no set goal that I have at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So do you have any like books you like to read, or what? Like, do you have a favorite book you like to like tell people? Oh, you got to read this book. This is amazing.
So I've actually just started a book club just before the lockdown. Because I'm not a big reader, to be in all honesty, and we're reading Frankenstein at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in terms of books, I haven't read many books this year, to be honest with you. So I couldn't even say, listen, get down and read this one or read that one. I mean, the last trilogy that was like half read by me was called The Last Kingdom, and that's about Vikings. I mean, if anybody wants to know, they can just type in Last Kingdom on Netflix because the series is on there.
Okay.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, very cool.
But otherwise, in terms of like motivation or anything, there's one that I've read recently. It's called The Power of Habit, and that's really interesting. That's about how to form habits, how to break habits. How are habits made? How big companies do things or say things in their adverts to get you to do something. or to get you to buy their stock. Very interesting stuff. You should read.
Okay.
There's actually one thing I'll tell you. There's a certain element that they put in shampoo to make it froth. Because shampoo is not supposed to foam, but because it's foaming, you think, oh, it's working, but that doesn't mean anything. That's just there to sell the shampoo.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. That's interesting.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, it is crazy.
I was like, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is, but no, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't even not know about that. All right. So, last question. Oh, actually, we could do two technically. So, what would you tell a person that just got cancer? How to deal with, we'll just say your cancer.
Okay. Yeah. Just don't be shy to ask for help. You need, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you need people in your corner. This is not something you're going to go through alone. Everybody's there to help, even if you as the patient, you're obviously going to get angry. There's going to be ups and downs in family and friends, but you need people in your corner. Yeah, definitely. Just tell them that they're not alone. There's many that have gone through it. It is definitely a curable cancer. Whatever they need to do it now. Of course, you've got the whole vegan versus chemotherapy choices. I obviously did both, and I will say this quickly. I think the fact that I did that vegan lifestyle, it helped my body out. Like it improved my constitution. So I think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been as better off had I not. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And then this is kind of like the same question as the one I just said. So what would you tell a new diabetic what to expect with their journey with diabetes?
I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah, go for it.
Repeat that.
So what would you tell a new type 1 diabetic what's going to happen and like how to deal with their new onset?
Wow, cool. Okay, I've never been asked that before. I have to think. Man, I can't say stop eating sugar because I still eat sugar.
Yeah.
God, man, I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, gosh. I mean, I've had diabetes for so long. I don't know. It's on.
It's all good, man. I stumped you.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I have to think about it.
All right, well, dude, thank you very much for being on the podcast. It really does mean a lot, and I'm actually really glad you're cancer free, and finally getting a chance to see you via video, but face to face instead of comment on Instagram. So, thank you very much for doing this.
Tom, thank you so much. I really appreciate you wanting to do this with me. Like I told you before, I wanted to do a podcast for a while, and the fact that you were doing these, I didn't even know. So I'm definitely going to look into your past podcasts and just read up and the rest of the diabetics. Do you only podcast with diabetics?
I broad range. I have like non-diabetic trainers. I have like everybody. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just one question for me.